Hi there. Welcome to the Imperfect Prophet podcast for women who wonder. Frankly, as we go through life, I'm sure we wonder about a great deal. First as little kids, then as adolescents, then as young women, then as transitional women. What are we calling ourselves these days? And then you get to this point in life, or my point in life, when you're postmenopausal and wondering what's next. Wondering if the parade already passed you by. Join me, Wonder Wendy. I'm going to be your host as we talk about some of these unique challenges that face women today in a new millennium, going through menopause and trying to live a rich, full life. There might even be a few men and younger women that want to listen in too. That's okay. But there's a roller coaster and we're all on it. And I'm going to be your guide to help you figure out when you should close your eyes, when you should hang on, and maybe we'll explore some ideas for what works for you if it doesn't work for me, or vice versa. So join the conversation, pick up your favorite beverage, and we'll talk to you soon. Welcome to the Imperfect Prophet. Hey there. Welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Prophet with me, your host, Wonder Wendy. I've got my beverage. I hope you have a beverage because, as we always talk about, it's more convivial if we're sharing a beverage together. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you may notice that I'm in my kitchen. I'm in my kitchen for a very specific reason because it inspired today's episode. In particular, the air fryer. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm an expert at the air fryer. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you I never looked at the manual. But I figured it out. It takes the place of a toaster oven. It takes the place of a toaster. It takes the place of an air fryer. So it's one appliance instead of three on my kitchen counter, which is personally a really annoying thing to me when you can't find your kitchen counter because of all the appliances. There's already enough there. And look, we've got a microwave, the knife block, all these things going on the kitchen counter. Now, for those of you who might be close to my age, the 70s were the heyday of individual purpose appliances. And my mother accumulated a great deal of them. There was the yogurt maker, the bread maker, the this maker, the that maker, all of these individual appliances. And they would spend a while on the kitchen counter. And at first they were the toy du jour. Oh yeah. Like how much homemade yogurt did we make for a short period of time? Short period of time being the operative word. And quite frankly, the bread baker made making bread very easy, but my mom made much better bread than the bread maker makes, and she taught me to do it. So I make a pretty awesome loaf of bread, by the way. But these appliances, some of them really do make our lives easier. Reheating pizza in the air fryer, so far superior to any other reheating method. What do you say? So I have this air fryer toaster oven thing, which I didn't read the manual. And the other day, we went to teach my husband how to toast his bagel. Now, please know this air fryer has been here for a not insubstantial amount of time, probably a couple of years. But he suddenly said, sometimes I like my bagel toasted. Do we have a toaster? And I said, we have a combination toaster oven, air fryer, whatever else this thing is supposed to do. It might be a time portal. I really should read the catalog on how to use this thing, right? So anyway, I go to teach him how, because the buttons are kind of confusing. And, he's a guy. He's used to pushing bagel and having his bagel come out toasted. So I accept this. And as I go to show it, he says, oh, I need to move the shelf. I said, well, why do you need to move the shelf? He said, well, there's words over here on the left, and one of the shelves is marked bagel. So I think the shelf is supposed to be on that space. I'm embarrassed to admit I never really noticed those words on the left-hand side of the multi-purpose heating device behind me. Never noticed that at all. Embarrassing, right? So the reason this inspired today's episode is I realized maybe once in a while we have to go back to the basics and start all over again. I know, terrifying, daunting thought that sometimes the most basic things in life we forget as we move into our lives. And when you reach my age, your age, whatever age you happen to be, you've got a lot of years of experience. You may start to assume, I know how to do that. I mean, what is this thing? How difficult can it be to operate? Why do I have to read the owner's manual? Because maybe it is a time portal. And maybe if you read the manual, you would know that. I'm betting against it being a time portal, but hey, there's always hope. And if I had a time portal, what would I do with it? Would I go back in time? Would I go back and settle some of those arguments that he said, she said, I said, you said? Or would I go back and visit historic eras? Anyway, sorry, I digress. Going back to the basics. And I realized we are now 2/3 of a year into my podcast. I know. I've been coming to you and talking to you for 2/3 of a year. So we're starting to talk about maybe a 1-year anniversary celebration. Wouldn't that be fun? How many of you would come if I had a party? Could we do a live broadcast? Could we do a broadcast with an audience? These are all different thoughts. Again, I'm digressing. But we've covered a lot of things: how to make friends, how to live our lives, how to overcome our fears, how to be comfortable with our fears, how to occasionally declare a blanket fort day. Just the world, I don't want to see you. Get away. Get out of my space. I know. So all these discussions we've had. But when was the last time I went back to the very basics? That I am Wonder Wendy. And I started this podcast because I want everyone to have the wonderful bucket list life. That's wonder-full bucket list life. Not just a life where you're plodding along or waiting for the end, but a really full life, a life full of wonder. And the bucket list part, not that list of things you do before you die. Stop planning on dying. I know I've said it before, but I'm going to keep repeating it until you're listening, until I'm listening. Yeah, sometimes I need even to remind myself of my own messages. The bucket list life is not about planning to die. It's about planning to live. Repeat that again. The bucket list life is not about planning to die. It's planning to live. So go back to your user's manual, and listen to yourself. Go back and read an old journal. Go find an old letter you wrote and look at where you were in a different point in time and ask yourself, which one of you was on the right path? Maybe there are more directions you wrote for yourself earlier on. Have you ever done that? That happened to me, and I talked about it on a podcast last year. But I went back and I found an old journal, and I realized I'd left myself breadcrumbs for what I wanted to accomplish years ago. And I'd forgotten that. I'd forgotten to listen to myself. I'd forgotten to instruct myself. So I strongly encourage you to go back and find your user's manual. Go back to the basics. Go back and listen to all of these episodes again and see if they resonate differently with you as you're in a different place in your life. And you say, wow, I didn't hear that the first time I listened to it. Or maybe it hits you and you say, ooh, I should have listened then. Or maybe you say, that's not for me at all. I'm not here to tell you what to do. There are all these messages out there. There are podcasts, there are coaches, there are everything. And every single one of them seems to want to tell you how to live 10 years longer, how to be rich, how to be famous, how to be. And these are all superlative achievements. Not that aiming for superlative achievements is bad, but maybe that's not your life. Maybe your life is destined to create the best garden for you. That may not be an award-winning garden. That may not be award-winning produce or flowers. But every morning, going out and tending that garden brings you happiness. Every morning, going out and being with your garden brings you happiness. I could talk about this because I have friends who are like that, not because I'm a gardener. I've tried gardening. I like some of it, but as a full-time vocation, and gardening can be a full-time vocation, it is not for me. Now, for those people for whom it is a dream, for those people for whom it is life-affirming, getting in the dirt and planting and weeding and growing things, it's incredible. Those people, back where I came from in Vermont, because in the winter, your planting options were limited during the winter, those people would approach seed catalogs in the doldrums of January, the way that I've seen other people approach pornography, just with excitement and passion and dreams and fantasies of what they're going to plant and the salad they'll make from the produce that they'll plant. And then they order those seeds. And before the growing season starts outside, they have grow lights and they start the tender shoots of plants. And they tell you those are going to be peppers and cucumbers and squash. It's all good. It's their jam. It makes them happy. If it doesn't make you happy, don't do it. Subscribe to a CSA, not the CSA as in the Civil War, but the CSA, which is supporting a farmer who would then get you produce throughout the summer. There's lots of ways to have fresh, locally grown produce. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to garden. In either way, you're supporting the environment in a really positive way. But again, I digress. So go back to the basics. What is it that makes you happy? This past week, a girlfriend commented on a pair of earrings I was wearing. They're beautifully beaded. They look like a Native American design earring. And she said, I need to go back to beading. Now, I've known this woman for 15 years? I never knew she did beading. I didn't know her as a really artsy and craftsy person. And she says, oh yeah, I still have all the supplies. I used to do it all the time. It used to bring me so much happiness. And now she's talking about going back to it. So go back to your user's manual. Figure out whether you're using your equipment properly. And that can be your diet, your exercise, your mental exercises, the way you breathe. So your diet. Most of us don't eat as well as we should. There are a few people, and they scare the hell out of me, that eat really clean. I could never eat that clean. This is a little treat with fleur de sel and fruit juice. That's what I'm drinking. So it looks festive. It tastes festive, but I'm not getting all the extra alcohol at this point in time. And not that there's anything wrong with that. If you like to have an occasional beverage, have an occasional adult beverage. No harm in that, unless there is. If you're a person who can't tolerate it, I have friends who have various health conditions and they can't drink alcohol. They find other things to enjoy. Maybe they steal a little sip of their mate's beverage when they have one, just so they get that across their palate. But they're taking better care of their body. My daughter's eating relatively clean for an event she's training for. But she said, oh, Mom, I'm not giving up sugar. Never. I don't think I'll ever give up sugar. She comes by that one, honestly. I miss my sugar. So good. Anyway, so your diet. Go back to the user's manual. Start looking for changes that help you live a little bit better. Your sleep habits. Go back to your user's manual. There's so many pieces of advice out there on how to get a better night's sleep. And if you're not getting a good night's sleep, something in your life should change so you can get that good night's sleep. Your exercise habits. Well, if you're not exercising at all, do anything. Do something. I was just discussing with a friend the other day that one of the things that happens as we
progress in years is we stop picking up our feet. Have you ever noticed that many really old people shuffle? Their feet never really leave the ground. They just kind of lift it and move it a little bit forward. But you know what happens when you do that all the time? You train your muscles that that's the only way you can walk. And all those muscles that used to lift your legs so you could climb stairs or mountains or even jump into a bed that's 3 feet off the ground, all those muscles wither and die. And it's amazing how quickly you can lose muscle tone. It's really scary, actually. If you've ever had even a minor health setback, you had the flu, you were down for a week, and the next week when you get back up, you go to the end of the block, I'm so tired. That was a lot. So think about this. If you are shuffling every day and essentially letting the vast majority of all those muscles and ligaments and tendons in your legs atrophy, you are slowly withering. Slowly withering. Don't do that. Nothing makes you look older than stumbling and shuffling down the street. And who wants to be that person? Don't you want to be a person who has the energy to play with your dog or your grandkids or go work in that garden? Or just take a lovely walk and enjoy what's around you? You need this in your life. You really do. I may or may not know you because I know I have listeners that I've never met before. But I can assure you that being able to move your own body will improve your life. It definitely will. And even people who need a wheelchair, being able to control that wheelchair, whether it's electronically or with their arms, gives them a sense of freedom and empowerment. Being able to move yourself is vital. So retain as much as you can. Lift your feet. Use that owner's manual and use your body properly. Breathing. Now, if you're alive, you're breathing. By very definition, if you are alive, you are breathing. And when you stop breathing, you're not alive anymore. Yeah. Although I think when they actually call death, it's because the heart stops beating. But, not a medical person, so don't take me word on that one. But reasonably certain, if you're breathing, you're living. Most of us don't breathe as well as we could. Before I started my yoga practice, I noticed I had a lot of difficulty holding a musical note. Or I'd climb stairs and think, am I in this bad of shape? I didn't know I was in that bad of shape. But I'd get so out of breath and my chest would be burning. My throat would be burning. And I wondered what was going on. Well, the truth of it was my posture was awful. And as my back had settled and slowly twisted itself, I'd also compressed my diaphragm. And as that happened, I wasn't able to get a full breath anymore. And I'm still working on restoring that functionality. I'm not to 125% yet, not even to 100% yet. The other day I climbed 2 flights of stairs and said, ooh, still working on that one. Ooh, yeah. But I'm working on it. And I went to the doctor for a regular checkup just the other day. And she took a look at my posture because she knows. Just a couple of years ago, she actually had an x-ray taken because she worried that my ribs were pressing incorrectly on my heart and could cause a problem with my breathing and my blood circulation. She's seen how far I've come. And she said, okay, stand up straight, put on your shoes. And I stood there and she went, you have a ballet dancer's posture. You are doing amazing things. So you can use your user's manual, go back to the basics and start realigning your body so that you're breathing properly, so that your abs start to smooth out, so that your legs get stronger, so that you stay younger. I know, I just said it. You stay younger. Can't fight everything. Skin's going to fight you. Your vision's going to change because the cornea shifts. But you can help fight it. Don't lean into aging. Do not do it. Please. Cheers to that. Do not lean into aging. So go back to that user's manual and the very basics. We want to live a life full of wonder. If you're listening to this, I consider you a bucket lister, one of my people, person who is striving to be your best, to do your best, to live your best life. With me? Are you still with me? Have I hit you with too much? I'm not saying huge changes. Here I am with my collar popped up because that's what I did in the 80s, and I still love it. I think it looks good. And it drives me crazy that people walk up and immediately adjust my collar. Now, as a visual, for those who you were seeing visual, if I have one side down and one side up, it is okay to ask, which way do I want it? Because both should be up. But if my collar is intentionally up, I have popped my collar a la Billy Joel 1984. Do not mess with my collar. That's how I want it. Do not put yourself on me. Yeah, I stuck my tongue out at you because I don't need your attitude. Do you embrace who you are? Are you going back to the usual? Now, granted, feel free to try it. If somebody says, I think that might look better if, let them try it. Give it a long look. Look how boring that looks. Like, really, no, we're not going to keep it that way. But don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to do something different. And then also don't be afraid to stand your guns and say, this makes me comfortable. Now, what's the one time I say that rule is there's an exception? When what you're doing hurts somebody else. And there's that time. I have friends who don't drink for reasons because they have an addiction to alcohol. They can't have one drink. They can't have one sample. And some of them are very comfortable being with me, and because I don't mind if they don't drink. Well, I insist that you have a beverage, but I don't insist that it be alcoholic because why? There's no reason for that. But if that friend is still struggling with not drinking alcohol, I'm not going to order a bottle of wine and have it in front of them. So when I know someone is going through that journey, I'll always say, is it okay with you if I have a glass of wine? If not, I'll have something else. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Be respectful of your friends. But if you want to pop your collar, that's not going to hurt anybody. As a matter of fact, it's your fashion choice. So these are all these things in the basic user manual of your life. Now, how about your brain? Are you exciting your brain? Are you using your brain? Because they say that using your brain actually helps expand it and build neural pathways. All the things your brain does. So if every day you get up and do the exact same thing and you're just going through a rut, you're just going through a routine, you aren't expanding new neural pathways in your brain. So let's go back to the basics on that one too. They say you should do memory games. Those little matching games that the kids play? Great mental exercise for brains that are getting older, for keeping those pathways open and alive, because you have to think about new connections. Or just read the owner's manual of your multidimensional time portal, pizza heating, toaster oven, air fryer, whatever it is, and learn something new. I know, I'm not just preaching to you, I am talking to myself, because sometimes I forget to go back and expand. So I love getting new input. I love listening to new music. I love hearing new stories, watching new movies, seeing new art forms. Now, I don't always agree with them, even though they may be considered art. I might consider it pancake batter splattered on a canvas, which could look pretty good, but I also wonder about what could happen in the long run? Is it going to have bugs? Is it going to, and really, I'm not a Jackson Pollock girl. I'm not a modern art girl. I do enjoy some new art, but I tend to be much more literal. I love my Sargent and Chagall and the early Impressionists. So I don't have to be literalist, but I do like to be able to actually identify something in the painting. Unless I've had a lot to drink, in which case I can become very free-flowing in my ideas, but not necessarily the best thing for the brain. They do say we want to watch how much alcohol we have as we age. I shouldn't say as we age. I should say as the years progress so we don't age as fast. Because aging is degradation. Watching the years roll by is a natural process. I know we've talked about this. Again, back to the basics. From the day we have a child, we start saying how old that child is. And for the first few days, it's literally, she is 6 days old. He is 7 days old. And then you progress shortly into weeks, 4 weeks old, 3 weeks old, whatever. And then it's 1 month old, 2 months old, 3 months old. And eventually we get into years. But ask a little child how old they are, and they'll say, I'm 4 years old. 1, 2, 3, 4. They'll know, especially when they're 4. I remember a delightful story. Before I ever had children, being in a ladies' room. And there's a woman who's mature, probably the grandmother of the child that's in the stall. And now I'm shuddering because she probably was about the age I am now, but whatever. And she says through the door, sweetie, do you need help? And I hear this child's voice peep over the door. And it says, no, I'm a 7-year-old and 7-year-olds don't need help, you see. Mm-hmm. Remember how wise and woolly you were at the age of 7. You knew it all. You could master the bathroom without any assistance from anybody. And now we watch our parents aging in a nursing home, needing help to go to the bathroom. The further we go back. Don't do that to yourself. By the way, all that yoga stuff, which I was talking about with the body reforming stuff, that stuff actually helps reform some of that stuff down south and can actually help with sex and incontinence. So developing all those muscles and walking properly and not shuffling can have effects that go all the way up, if you know what I mean, and in many aspects of your life. So I'm going to remind you, I know, I said it again, go back to the owner's manual, go back to the basics, go back and listen to all of these podcasts again and start reprogramming your brain. Start thinking of things differently, not me telling you what to do, but you thinking about what is best for you. Because we all need a girlfriend to talk to. We do. I have a few on speed dial. As a matter of fact, today is my 15th anniversary with my friend Stacy. I actually have a note on my calendar of the first day that I met her because it was so much fun. But there are people in your life that you are going to call upon over and over again. And they're going to help you get through it. And I want to be one of those people for you. And I want to help us create a community where we're bonded together and we don't feel alone when we do what is best for ourselves. I want to be a part of that with you. That's important to me. And that's why I'm doing this podcast, because I think it's really important to have these discussions. So go back, listen to all the 30-something messages I've already put out there, prepare for next week's message. And until then, always remember to have a day full of wonder, a week full of wonder. Every moment, look for wonder. Whether it's a blade of grass growing where it shouldn't, and it's as tenacious as it all get out, a flowering cactus after the rain, or that first crocus bulb that comes up in northern climates and reminds you that spring will come again. Wonder can be found anywhere. Wonder can be found when you get the perfect piece of fruit in the grocery store. Wonder can be found in so many ways and places. So keep finding it, make your life better, go back, find your owner's manual, and be your best self. I look forward to talking to you again next week. Until then, have a wonderful week. Oh, and please reach out to me on social media. I want to hear what you're thinking. And when you go back and look at all those episodes from before, tell me which one hit you most this time. Talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day.
Like what you heard here today? Then we should be friends. I suggest you join my Facebook group. It's a good way to connect. We can have a conversation, ask me questions, whatever you want to do. It is called the Wonderful Bucket List Life. That's Wonder-Full Bucket List Life. Be a bucket lister and join me on this adventure. Or you can go to my webpage, which is Wonder Wendy and Friends, join the mailing list, learn about the book I wrote, adventures that are coming up in the future, and other podcasts. I look forward to talking to you soon, and stay hydrated. Have a great day.